Welcome to Mine EX-Plorers, where I am here with Crystal Burgex, my ex-wife, and her cat Blue.
He was your cat at one point.
It's true. He was my cat. I brought him home, and I took care of him, and you can see he's huge. Like, he's a chunky boy.
He's a chunky boy.
He was a little kitten, like, tiny kitten.
Okay.
But he had a ridiculous amount of attitude, and we called him Blue because he had a blue strike across the top of his head. Somebody did with hair dye or spray paint or something.
No, I think it was watercolor because it went away eventually.
Yeah, but it stuck around. And then Crystal hated Blue. We called him Richard because he was such a dick for a long time.
For a long time.
And he still is to me, but he's actually really nice to Crystal. So now he's Crystal's cat, which is so funny because there was a time where if I proposed getting rid of Blue, she would have been like, yeah, sure. And now, like...
Now he's a great cat.
Yep.
He has lots of attitude. He's very chatty, but he's a good boy.
So he's a big fan of Crystal and
apparently
son,
the podcast, because I'll tell him that
we're
doing the podcast and he'll run downstairs and go right here. So.
Probably because it's a chance to sit in your lap and chill. And
we don't get much quality time these days. We're busy. I'm always going somewhere.
But a bit of a reintroduction. So Crystal is my ex-wife. That's where the X in Mine EX-Plorers comes in. And I was just thinking that the last time we did kind of an introduction to who we are and what we're doing was like when we had like 40 subscribers. And now we have almost 10 times that. So I figured it was a good time for a lot of new watchers to kind of reintroduce. I'm the chairman and co-founder of Burgex Mining Consultants. Crystal also works for the company.
I also work for the company. I'm one of the low-level employees. No, I get the pleasure of wearing the chief executive officer hat, as well as marketing director. So.
Yeah, Crystal wears a lot of hats. She's actually a lot more involved in the day-to-day of the company than I am. As chairman, I'm kind of the guy who's looking out at the big trends and what's going on.
Doing a lot of public speaking, which we'll touch on in a minute.
Doing a lot of public speaking and just being involved in a lot of that. And looking at the trends, like lately, I think for the last 3 years, my primary job has been AI integration specialist. And as the chairman, my job's to look out at the big trends on the horizon. What's going to affect business? What do we need to be adapting for? What do we need to be prepared for? And when large language models really came onto the scene, and of course we were looking at machine learning and stuff before with mineralocity and some of the things we're doing, but when large language models really came onto the scene, I was one of the first 10,000 people to sign up for ChatGPT. Like within the hours of the first day it was released, I got a tip off from a good friend that it was coming and that I needed to be involved, and I was. And since then, my big job has really been figuring out how do we integrate this and how does it fit into Burgex, but how does it fit into mining?
Right. No, it's really been a game changer just from our company perspective of simple little things of just making sure that grammar is correct and those nice things, right?
Yeah, editing, auditing.
Editing, auditing has been a huge plus.
I've been using it for scope verification. So I'll take our deliverables on a project and I'll take our scope that we submitted and I will have usually Gemini look through both and go, does this meet and or exceed our scope? Yeah. And it'll go, oh yeah, this is great in this part. This part's a little weak. You didn't address this at all. And then I can make adjustments.
Well, that's so fantastic.
It's a great use and probably one that not a lot of people think of, but I did a big report, like 90-page report, market study. And I did that, and it flagged that in one small part of the scope, we said we were going to do a SWOT analysis for different markets.
Oh.
And I hadn't done that, but I'd put together all the other information, just not put it into an analysis. So the great part was it's already all in Gemini. So I said, Gemini, produce a SWOT analysis. And it made a great one that I tweaked a little bit, but it not only verified the scope, but helped me make sure we met the scope.
Right. No, I mean, there's so many good uses for it that really helps make your team work faster and smarter as long as they're double checking their work. Because that's where AI can get really sloppy is you just put it in, pull it out, and then use it. And it's like, well, you actually got to read it.
It'll always try to find an answer even when there's not one.
Yes, it will. And it'll make up things.
And it will try to be agreeable. Grok is programmed to be a little more neutral and not kiss your ass, basically.
But it's a little more feisty.
But I've found like Gemini and some of that, I may have something wrong and it will like try to work around to find a way to justify the way I put it, even though the way I put it may be wrong.
It's like afraid of confrontation in a way.
So I would rather have it.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should use
Call
Grok
it
at
some
some
that.
things.
Yeah. It's very fast, extremely fast. Grok.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do quite the same depth and stuff as Gemini for research and analysis.
Right.
Like I do a lot of things. I run through the deep think mode. So it can take up to 20 minutes to get an answer sometimes.
Right.
So for that, it's kind of a ping pong. You set tasks, step away, set tasks. But
Yeah.
so I wanted to talk a little bit about what you've been up to lately.
Well, I've been doing my best to run Burgex, but at the same time, I've decided to. I've been having this interesting thing where I'm like thinking about how hard my team works. And I'm like, how do I perform at that level? But and push myself. And so I decided this year. So last year I ran 2 half marathons, and that was fun and challenging. But this year I decided to go for the full.
You ran 2 half marathons last year?
Yeah, because I did a training, and part of the training was a half marathon, and then there was the big event in Ogden.
Oh, yeah.
So I actually did 2.
Yeah, you did 2.
Yeah.
And you've almost ran a couple this year already in training.
I will do another one on Sunday.
Wow. Wow.
Right. So I've decided that I needed to push myself even more and go for the full, because with running, it's like 90% a mental game. And I realized that yesterday because I've been kind of in a bad mood the last couple days. Just stressed and thinking about things, and like I need to make some big changes within the company that's like, it takes a lot of brain power, and it's very stressful at times because, you want to treat your team well and do what's best for them. And sometimes you just have to make a hard decision. And so on my run yesterday, I was like doing pretty good, but then I started getting into this negative headspace. And then like my pace went down, and then I'm like, oh, it's only 3 miles, but at mile 1.5, I'm like cranky, which is no way to do any type of exercise or life really.
Right.
So I recognized that. So I came home, and I have a good trick that I've learned over the years of like, if I'm in a bad mood and I need to get out of it quickly, I just have a hot sauce dinner where I just take the hottest hot sauce that we have in our fridge, which currently is called Instant Regret.
Extreme Regret.
Oh, Extreme Regret. Yeah, and it is.
It's very hot. It's habaneros. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
Carolina Reapers.
yeah. So I had that with the beef tacos, and I feel good today. Seriously, by the time I went to bed, I was like, I am in a much better mood.
Yeah, so there's definitely science behind that. Hot sauce releases
Endorphins.
and dopamine, and which running does also, and the pain from running.
I've noticed too, I've actually weaned myself off of social media except for LinkedIn. I am a sucker for LinkedIn, but I've weaned myself off of like the YouTube shorts in October. And before then, I realized that once you start scrolling, you get that dopamine release, but eventually it depletes, right? Because it's a finite resource. But hot sauce also will cure that deficit as well.
Right. Well, and that's interesting. And it's funny because obviously we produce YouTube shorts, and it's great when people watch them and interact with them. But
Yeah.
the people who designed those platforms and layouts designed them to be maximally addictive.
Yeah, it's the casino of your phone.
Yeah. And not to be confused with the actual casinos on your phone, because now
Because now that's
all
a thing
the
too.
predicted markets and all
Yeah.
that, there's like ubiquitous gambling on everything.
I mean, the long and short of it is like there is addiction everywhere, and you really have to be careful of what you let yourself get sucked into. And you have to have enough self-awareness to be like, oh, I'm spending way too much time on this and I need to take a step back.
And have hot sauce.
And have hot sauce to like clear it out. It's amazing.
So, speaking of hot sauce, I was in Houston last week.
You were.
Yep. And, Tex-Mex, hot sauce, although the South is notoriously not into hot things. There's lots of fun jokes about mayonnaise being too spicy in the South. And I've definitely known some of those Southern boys who don't like the heat. It's hot down there, but they don't like hot food.
We've known Southern boys who don't like pepper on their things because it's too spicy.
Not like peppers, like pepper.
No, like salt and pepper,
like
the black pepper.
Yeah. So I was in Houston for 2 days last week, and I went to the Frac Sand conference.
Yes, you were the keynote.
Yeah, and frac sand is not doing super great right now.
Right.
Because it follows the oil and gas prices. And, actually oil and gas are going up right now because of the tensions with Iran. And hopefully we haven't bombed them by the time this airs, but it's always a possibility. The United States has the largest buildup of military hardware in the Middle East since 2003. Since we invaded Iraq. So some tensions in oil and gas are causing it to go up. But the long-term trend, particularly in natural gas, has been down for a long time. And frac sand is used in fracking, and fracking only occurs when oil and gas prices are high enough to justify it. So that market's been really down. So the conference was kind of sad. There were only about 65, 70 people there.
Yeah, it's quiet.
But I had some really good conversations, which is good. There's still some producers out there who are looking to be able to self-source their own sand. They'd like to do some prospecting and find areas where they can produce sand, which I think is great. But all in all, it's pretty muted, which just makes me really glad we've diversified, because back in 2013, 14, half the work we were doing was in frac sand.
Right.
Or more. So the oil and gas market's definitely affected some of the minerals that go into that. And there's some interesting minerals that go into oil and gas drilling. So bentonite, which is used in all drilling. We use it in mineral drilling and things like that to lubricate the holes, cool the bits.
Drilling mud.
Soda ash. Funny stories about that. Variety of polymers that are produced from different petrochemicals. And then barite, which is used to add weight to drilling fluid so that it drops down into the hole. And then frac sand, among other things, but those are the primary ones. And frac sands produce, there's hundreds of millions of tons of frac sand that have been produced and pumped underground. There's about 80 million tons a year consumed right now, and we're kind of at a low. And that could go up to 100, 120, depending on what happens with oil prices. So, yeah, it was good to check in, do that, go to the Frac Sand conference, speak there. But, yeah, it was a little bit sad to see. It's similar to the lithium and stuff, how it comes and goes, and we're super busy doing a lot of it, and then it's gone. But it was fun to revisit projects that I worked on, more than 10 years ago, and think about them and pull up some of the photos and stuff.
Right. Well, and you were mentioning how the size of the grain has changed over the years too, because 10 years ago we were looking for this very specific size, and that's what everybody wanted. And then the next year nobody cared about that size, and they wanted all these different sizes. It was
it's changed the market.
It just changed
entirely.
So much about what type of deposits you're looking for, what the customer actually wants, and all of that.
Yeah. So for those of you not familiar with frac sand, it's measured in mesh sizes, which are the how tight the wires are on a sieve, basically, or a screen, and they correlate with obviously a millimeter or mu meter size. But we were looking for 2040 back then, which was everything between the 20 and the 40
which
sieve.
are pretty big grains.
Which are pretty big grains. You can hold them in your hand and you can count the grains with your naked eye.
Yeah.
And then it shifted to less that, let's do 30-50, okay, 40-70, and then 100 mesh. Well, now it's 41-40. they take everything between the 40 and the 140. They screen off the stuff coarser than the 40, and they drop off everything finer than the 140, and they take that whole middle cut and pump it underground, which really was news to me. I just thought everybody was still using 100 mesh. I didn't know they had broadened it to just take all that sand.
Which is great because it honestly broadens where you can find it.
And how much of it is economical and how much just goes out into the spoil pile.
Right.
So you can produce a lot more of it. It lowers the economics, it lowers the delivered cost, and makes it more economical. So that's been interesting to see that market shift, and it's changed a lot. And now there's some more synthetic proppants coming back in that are produced in refineries.
Right, right.
Some lightweight ones and some other things that are pretty interesting that the market's looking at. And then in some basins like the Williston and the Bakken, they're still actually importing resins and doing coated sands, which I thought had gone the way of the dodo, but they still are.
Yeah, same, because I heard that was always a very expensive way to use.
Yeah, and I don't think they're using all resin. So they're using a lot of natural sand, and then they do some resin coated to kind of beef it up a little bit. It's more of a sweetener than the primary product. But yeah, and I suppose some places they may still be using ceramics as well.
Right, right.
Which that market just straight up, straight down. Yeah, pretty interesting.
It is interesting. So coming up very soon, you are giving another presentation at another conference, because that was your goal for the year, was to give as many presentations as you possibly can. And I think, honestly, you're on a fantastic track. I think already this year you've given, what, half a dozen or so? Yeah.
So my goal wasn't to give as many presentations as possible, because if I wanted to do that, I would sign up for every conference and go to every conference.
Then we would never see you.
Yeah, no, my goal is not to give as many presentations as possible. My goal is that every conference I'm already planning on attending to speak at.
Right, right.
That way
that's right.
I keep practicing my public speaking. It pushes me. Like, I won't always sign up to talk on topics that I have a lot of experience in. Sometimes I'll pick things that I'm less experienced in to push myself to research and learn more about it. So a good example is at the America's Coal Revolution conference a few months ago, I spoke about extracting rare earths from coal, which is something that I was aware of, and I've worked with conventional rare earth mines and things like that, but I wasn't an expert by any means in extracting coal from rare earths. So in volunteering to give that presentation, I had to do a lot of research and learn about it and stuff. So I find it's a way to practice public speaking. Obviously gets our name out there and establishes us in some other segments of the industry, but it also pushes me to learn about new things, which is important. And then in doing this show every week, it gives me a chance to learn about new things that I could bring here too.
Right, that's been fantastic.
So I'll probably speak at 20 different events this year.
It's impressive.
So not as many. Like, if I really wanted to, I could probably speak at 50 if I just did as many as I could, but that's all the ones that I'm showing up to, that I'll be at. And then, little local meetings and stuff too.
So this next one is something that you are very well familiar with, is using GIS in exploration, right? And you have 2 presentations that you're giving.
Yep.
And I'm not familiar with the second one.
Yeah, so I'm speaking at SME and SME Mine Exchange in Salt Lake City, which will be a big, great event for us because it's local.
We love the local ones.
We can send a lot of our team. We're hosting a critical minerals mixer with the World Trade Center, Parsons, Bale and Latimer, a prominent law firm here in Utah that does a lot of mining work, and then the government of Quebec's Los Angeles office.
Yep.
We've all partnered together to do this mixer. So that's going to be fun. But I'm speaking on, my kind of primary presentation is on how I've used AI and GIS to find pozzolan deposits. But since pozzolan outside of select circles in construction materials is really not something known or talked about, utilities and railroad guys and stuff know about it too because of a lot of fly ash that's used as pozzolan. But natural pozzolans is a new concept to mining. So half my presentation is kind of going to be an introduction to pozzolans and how it's used for decarbonization.
Okay.
And it's a great way to make stronger cement, better cement that's greener and cleaner, and potentially a lot more affordable, especially for ready mix guys. And so I'm talking about that, and then I'm talking about how I used AI and GIS to build a database of all the consumers of pozzolans, all the producers of pozzolans, where the materials are flowing, and then look at the geology and use AI to help me find regions that have potential to be more productive, and then actually look at radiuses and things and select targets, how we've gone out and tested those targets, how we built a home lab to do some of the high level testing, and then what our kind of decision matrix is for what we stake and what we secure mineral rights for and all that. So all crammed into about 20 minutes.
So you essentially made a mineralocity specifically for pozzolan.
I did.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's data we could plug into mineralocity at some point too, when we're done using it to, to prospect. So
fascinating. Well, that'll be a great presentation.
Yeah, and then the second one's just more broadly about the importance of GIS and exploration and mining.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed it definitely has gotten more popular over the years, which is great. I feel like we've been kind of on the forefront of those conversations. You know, we have
for sure
a few GIS analysts in house, and you know, once they get talking about GIS and they start showing all the different capabilities, it's like, how is this not more prevalent within the industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of exploration companies, and I think many of our peers across the consulting spectrum, from landman services to market studies and valuations, all have people on their team that are proficient in GIS, and they build maps and things. But we actually have 3 GIS developers on our team who actually build new GIS tools, and they work really closely with the GIS software developers to roll out new features and things like that. And so we're really pushing the element, especially with mineralocity, but we have some tools internally that build those mineralocity layers that are really cool.
Yeah.
And high tech, and we're using AI to the max.
Oh, constantly. Yeah, no, it's such a great use of it.
AI and coding, so we have scripts that will go out and find mines and find contact information and find production information and then
verify it too, which is really cool.
To verify.
Because then we can have confidence on the side of, like, we're not just giving you garbage information. We actually took the time and verified it all. And so we have, I think they're developers, so it's like, at first it was like 62% accuracy, but now we're getting into like the 70s to 80s, and they would give me very specific numbers, which I think is hilarious. But it is very exciting.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And then you look on there, and like I was cruising on it yesterday, looking at Utah, because we have all of the Utah contact information on there now, and it's like, this is awesome, because like you have 2 different phone numbers, so you have like the corporate office and then the local number. And then you have website links that go directly to their website.
Wow.
Which is so great.
That's really cool. Yeah, and something that I think a lot of our subscribers will really appreciate. We just have to get the word out there.
Working on it.
Got to get you less with the CEO hat, more with the marketing hat.
I know.
Or, you know,
it's a balancing act.
Find a way to do that, yeah. No, it'll be exciting. I'm looking forward to speaking.
Yeah, it should be a great show, and I'm always a big fan of the local ones. So it'll be fun. We haven't had SME in our backyard for a couple years now, so it's fun. It will be fun. Yeah, and having the mixer, the social, with meeting some of our clients and new people, that's such a great way just to get people, you know, who are excited about exploration in Utah just together and talking about it.
Yep. Yeah, and we have a lot. Utah is very underexplored compared to Nevada and a lot of other places.
It could also use a good marketing campaign.
Yeah, we have good potential for copper development, gold, silver, antimony. We have a couple of leading antimony projects here right now.
I have a chunk of antimony on my desk.
Tungsten. We know there's some cobalt in the state.
Fluorite.
Fluorspar, fluorite, beryllium. List goes on and on.
Lithium.
And very underexplored.
Yeah.
Yeah, lithium. I mean, there's known lithium deposits that we've known about, lithium brines, for literally almost 10 years now that are just finally going to get drilled this year to see what we have. So.
Yeah, that's We're working on it.
Yep. So that'll be kind of Utah focused, but then of course we're doing a lot in Arizona. We will be opening an Arizona branch this year, Burgex, Arizona.
Absolutely.
So that we
in the
can
works.
better serve our clients down there. And obviously Arizona, huge hub for copper development.
Yep.
So that's a lot of what we're doing. We'll be very busy with copper projects in Arizona.
And the way things are going, we need every bit of it.
Yep.
Every bit of it. Let's keep copper in the U.S. Let's get those permit regulations more streamlined and just go. Because, I mean, like anything, the geology still has to make sense.
Yep.
So just because you found some type of deposit doesn't mean it's going to be economical. Doesn't mean it's going to be even a viable mine. There's still a million things to look at.
Yeah, I had a clip that did pretty well from our episode in the field where we were out prospecting. It was our last episode. And the odds, I put the odds of that project moving forward at 10%.
Right.
And I got a comment on LinkedIn like, wow, 10% odds, that's crazy. Like, that's really low. And it's funny because I was thinking about it. I was like, 10% odds of an exploration project making it to the next stage
is actually
really high.
good.
Those are great
Like,
odds.
I thought that was encouraging.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at any other industries, like that would be a garbage project. Like you would just throw that away.
Yep. But it's,
Welcome,
but also like the amount
welcome
of
to mining, baby.
the amount of investment is pretty low to the next stage and things like that. And this is a particular, we were prospecting for something that is a lot less complex geologically and economically than something like a copper mine.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, grade is king, location's king. And then as we're learning a lot, like that social license to operate is really key too. I mean, Resolution's been hung up for a long time. Pebble just got shut down again.
I saw that again, and they've been in that same battle for like 20 years.
Yep. And it's a huge project, but it's not a slam dunk by any means. It's difficult. The grades aren't very high. It's remote. It's in Alaska, but now they're going on multiple administrations. And if they can't get it through the hurdles during the Trump administration, it's probably not going to happen for another 20 years or so.
I mean, I remember them having struggles with permitting when I was in high school.
Yep. And
and I hate to admit that was a long time ago.
Yeah, as an Alaska native, I'm sure. Yeah, you heard about it from a different angle than now.
It was pretty quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's all, we need the resources. It does take from the earth. We all understand that, but fortunately the US has very stringent regulations and rules and other agencies to, look at mines that are in operation so we can do the best that we can to extract them properly.
Well, and no serious mining company is going to risk their reputation on doing things a shoddy way. Like,
well, you can't.
The industry self-regulates well enough that, like, I'm confident that we have such a strong safety culture in mining now with the big operators. Obviously, there's still a lot of small sand and gravel, crushed stone, things like that.
And we're primarily talking about U.S.
Yeah, just U.S.
focus.
That we've worked with that don't have a safety culture the way it needs to be. But I'm confident that with Rio Tinto and BHP and Freeport and Barrick and Newmont and Kinross, you could eliminate MSHA and inspections and all of that, and they would maintain or exceed their current safety levels.
Right.
Because they have such a strong internal culture, and so much of their executive compensation and bonuses and everything are tied to safety that environmentally and safety-wise, they would maintain or keep the same standards.
No, I agree.
Now, you get down to some of the lower tiers and some of the smaller mines and stuff, they still need that constant reinforcement and inspections and things. Like, unfortunately, we've worked at mining operations in the last several years that got MSHA citations that were very well deserved.
Oh, for sure.
So it's still that. But the companies themselves, especially the top tier companies, the majors, are they self-regulate very highly to a standard that exceeds federal regulations environmentally and safety-wise. But we're getting a little long here. Let's talk about Project Vault.
Let's talk about Project Vault. So Project Vault is something that the Trump administration it seems kind of secretive at the moment.
Well, they've announced it, and then they're working on the details.
They've announced it. It's a $12 billion fund that they're looking at securing and setting price floors for certain critical minerals. And the way I understand it is we don't know which minerals they are suggesting.
There's lots of speculation.
But I think we can speculate which ones.
Yeah, we could guess. It's not going to be all the minerals on the critical minerals list.
No.
But it's going to be a healthy basket of those.
So this is to create market stabilization. Is that kind of the idea here of where...
You made up a new word.
Oh, sorry.
Stabilitation?
Stabilization is what I meant to say.
Stabilitation. Crystals, stabilitation. Let her come in and stabilitate your company.
I'm still stabilized.
And I'm the one who hasn't had any coffee yet today. So Project Vault.
It's about guaranteeing demand to keep prices stable.
So we've talked a lot about this show and how the current administration really wants to onshore mineral production, refining,
yes,
and to loosen China's dominance on these important minerals that are important for defense, important for tech. The current administration, we've speculated a lot about all the different ways that they could potentially shore up domestic production. We talked about taking a equity stake in companies directly, which is picking winners and losers, which I'm not a fan of. We talked about setting price floors. We talked about bringing back a strategic minerals stockpile. We talked about loosening regulations. We talked about making treaties and agreements with other friendly partners to bring it in. And I thought it was going to be some of these things. They're taking an all of the above approach.
Yeah.
So they've done all of those things. And Project Vault is the last piece. And as a libertarian, I don't like any of them, but if I had to pick two to go with, I would say have some price floors that support the economics to let the little guys get up and going, particularly the junior miners, and then create a strategic minerals stockpile like they did for uranium. And they built a whole uranium base during the 50s.
So how would the price floors work?
Well, they'll just say we're going to buy X amount at this price.
And the government would purchase it?
Yep.
Interesting.
And so that creates the economics. So
yeah,
we're doing a lot of prospecting for tungsten right now. Mm-hmm. They did a lot of exploration for tungsten in the 40s and 50s. World War II created a huge demand and prices went up high and they were developing mines and building mines. And then the war ended, they stopped buying, and all the tungsten mines closed, and all the production went over to China. Same with rare earths, same with lots of other things, same with iron ore, same with, because steel manufacturing left, all that other stuff. If there's a price floor that had kept tungsten at an economic to extract rate,
right,
that production would have never left.
It would have stayed.
We would still be producing it here. So, like I said, as a libertarian, I'm not a fan of the government getting involved in any of that stuff. But if they're going to, setting a price floor and buying a certain amount to stockpile, they can create a kind of like OPEC light for minerals, where they can control pricing and they can kind of throttle output. Like if they're in a situation where it's what China does. It's what China's doing.
Well, exactly. I mean, and that's kind of like...
You're basically just playing China's game.
Well, we have to.
Right.
I mean, they're 20 years ahead of us.
Right, because they can throttle production. They can go, we're not going to sell to the U.S., we're buying it all internally.
Yeah.
And we're just going to sit on it. They can do that with critical minerals.
They've done that in 100 different ways.
Right.
So we
the
are
U.S.
light
is
years
creating a
behind.
way to do that. And $12 billion is honestly not much.
It's not. It's going to go quick.
That's enough to stockpile a few different minerals in a sufficient quantity. But the idea here is that, and obviously, yes, very opaque. We don't have a lot of details. We don't know what minerals. We don't know how it's structured.
Right.
But the idea here is that it's a private and public stockpile.
Right.
So say there's several companies, Tesla included, that are very interested in building rare earth magnets here in the United States. They're going to build the factories. We need the refineries and the smelters and the processing capacity.
A lot of different things, yes.
So if they buy their raw minerals from the government stockpile, the vault, at a set price, then it creates stability for all the miners. They know what their price is, they know what they have to produce. And obviously they're not going to set that price so high that stupid projects go into production. It's going to be set, hopefully. I mean, nothing's ever guaranteed with the government, but hopefully they set the price floors, their purchase price at a price that supports projects with good economics and gives them the stability they need. So it's not a way for them to go just put a bunch of sub-economic projects into production and make a bunch of money, but it could be a way for good mines to stay in production for a long time. Like MP Materials has had a hell of a ride. Like, look at their stock chart over the last 30 years.
No, it's a roller coaster.
It's insane. It's up and down and restructuring and debt and bankruptcies and in production, out of production. They're scaling up, scaling down. They're trying to produce other things. They're not. At the end of the day, all the concentrate's going to China because we don't have the refining capacity for most of it here. If they had a stable buyer throughout all of that, they could be so much further ahead.
Right.
So it's a way to introduce some stability. But there's a lot of speculation. I mean, a lot of the silver bugs online are like, oh, it's going to be silver. There's going to be a floor on silver. And it's like, silver is strategic, and it makes sense to have silver in the stockpile. But I don't think they're going to buy at a $150 an ounce floor.
Right,
Like, they're going to buy at like $60 or something, which it does create stability. And it's another buyer. Adding another major buyer to any commodity helps provide some price stability and keeps prices higher. So
it's very interesting. We'll see how this goes.
it is. And like I said, like, I'm not a fan of any of that. I mean, when I say any intervention, cutting back regulations and providing more support for permitting and adjudication and those things, I'm always a fan of that. So I am a fan of that. But like, taking a direct stake in companies, I very much prefer they buy materials and stockpile them to create stability than take a direct investment in mining companies.
Right. You don't really want the federal government involved.
No, I mean, it's nationalization light.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is a little scary on that front.
But there's ways that they can support the free market, be more competitive with China, which has distorted a lot of it, that I'm okay with.
Right.
Not that I have any say, but, you know, I have opinions.
Like everybody does.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that and see how that develops.
Yeah, there'll be updates as we go, for sure.
But,
and it's going to affect us in a very real way because we're working on projects that would potentially produce materials to go into those stockpiles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for exploration. I mean, we're already seeing a lot of activity, a lot of buzzing. You know, you just came back from the show in Vancouver, AME, and there was a lot of excitement there. And then coming up, we have PDAC in Toronto.
Yep.
So last year they had 27,000 attendees.
March 1st through 3rd.
Yeah.
Something like that.
They're speculating to be about 30,000. So it'll be interesting to see.
We'll have a booth, so see us there.
The buzz and excitement on that show. And then at the same time, there is ConExpo, which is the largest.
They overlap one day, yeah. A very different market, different segment. We just happen to be a consulting firm that crosses over into construction materials and industrial minerals.
So ConExpo only happens every 4 years, and it's the largest show in that space.
We're looking at over 100,000 people.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. So that one's in Las Vegas, and you will be attending. We have a couple other people from Burgex attending.
We'll be there with our partners, Semco, so North
yeah.
American Mining. And exciting news with North American Mining magazine, I am going to have a column, a regular column, in every episode. There's 9 episodes a year, so I will be writing 9 articles a year.
Do you decide on your name?
I'm working on the name, so please leave a comment, send us a message with what you like. I'm leaning with Open Ground as a name for the column.
So
Open
like it or
Ground,
love it,
yep.
Love it or hate it.
Yep, Open Ground. And we have a lot of other ideas. Maybe I'll drop a poll or something on LinkedIn. But we have a lot of other ideas. But I think open ground is good. That
That's
resonates
good.
with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a very common term too.
So look forward to that. I think I will have something in the April issue. So
awesome.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot of the same stuff you hear here, but with a little more charts and graphs and written out concisely instead of just rambling. And no Blue. So
well,
he won't help me.
No, not well.
Yep. My ex-cat and my ex-wife.
We'll hide over here.
Okay.
We'll do our own. We'll do our own marketing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, with that, we're looking forward to seeing you guys at the shows.
Yep.
Let us know if you're going to be there, and happy exploration.
Yeah, and we got some guests coming up. Always good guests. Very exciting guests coming up in our next episode.
And if you want to be a guest,
look forward to that.
let us know.
Yep. See you next time.